Welcome, friends, to a super special edition of Sophia's Emporium. My name's Suze. Okay, so let's get some education. Controlled unclassified information marketing or controlled unclassified information introduction? Well, I think we should do the introduction because obviously everybody on this internet is a fucking PhD genius when it comes to sales and marketing and spinning a crock for a profit. I mean, I couldn't even come on business and do honest, true business. Shame on the internet for that. But hey, thanks for clearing You know the it up, war's too. going So, on right I'm now. cool. I'm not Censorship pissed and such. Some deserved, some not.
Hello, I'm glad you dropped by. I just read your email and saw the post.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Since you're here.
So here's one of our young ladies in the movement. And like I said, I'm turning her down. I don't want to affect my
In a
volume on the
standardized way.
computer, though.
The
Hang
answer
on.
is that while agencies and
Yeah, you got all the answers.
for decades, every agency had its own methods, acronyms, and
Okay.
labels. This includes
There we go. I like that. It's nice. It's in the background. It encourages everyone to go see it for themselves. And I can carry on with my project. I don't really want to look at her. Give me a minute to get myself turned because it's Blow Me Sideways Day. And what I'm really here to do, y'all, is to review that first week that I was online on the computer. And like we've talked about, I was not interacting with human beings yet. We're talking about getting my world set up. People thought I was a data collector, can you believe? Because as a computer illiterate person, I mean, I literally had no clue. Just like when people still mock me now and say, well, you're an idiot, you don't know how to get these bad emails off your phone. Hey, blow me sideways. Nobody ever even showed me how to use any of this electronic shit. And I'm involved in it way deeper than people that have been involved for 20 years. There we go. Let me just get myself proper. Okay, so let me begin by saying this. August 10th is a big day to me. And August has always been a very potent, powerful month for myself and the hair emporium and any business ventures that I get involved in. So it wasn't any surprise to me that August of the year 2014 was going to be power-filled. And oh yeah, it was. And it still is. But the reason why August 10th is special to me is because that was my Emancipation Day. And when I say that, what I'm referring to is that's the day my divorce was granted to me from Dopey the Turnip, aka Tim Pratt, my ex-husband. Now, just because it was Emancipation Day, it was still very stressful, very difficult on myself, even though I did make the choice. A lot of people think it's more difficult on the person that it happens to. Well, that's a matter of opinion and responsibility, and just like assholes, everybody's got a responsibility to wipe their ass, right? Well, anyhow, today is August 10th, as you see, and it's Friday. So I thought, I really need to do this, even if I'm not prepared, because I need to clear the way for what's knocking at the door. Well, it was, I guess 4 days ago when I sat down to cover the beginning of August through August the 7th. And like I said, primarily the reason why in my heart that I came online was to comply with the city of Ferguson and with my friends and with my peers that said that I was nobody if I wasn't online. And of course I was teased about that forever, no big deal. It was in August 2013 that Ferguson, with all its fervent push, put me on their historic business district page, you know, businesses and attractions. And of course I documented the story a long time ago, but I'll just review for the record. So it was at the coffee house, and everybody here in this town knows that that's a ex-Lanero enterprise that's now closed down. You can buy the whole corner of Darst here in Ferguson if you want. There's buildings, established great places, and yes, you could come here and set up your hoopla. The whole town's for sale. Come one, come all. But just remember, it's a major area of chaos now because there's a bunch of dirty rottens that want it, and then there's a bunch of good people that want it. So, let the cards fall. Well, anyhow, I walked into the coffee shop that day, and there was that girl that hated me more than anybody else, Sherry, of the Ferguson Stylist Spa, because, you know, she did the right favors at City Hall, which Mayor Knowles did say to me his own self when I was working to get into this community, and they were trying to hold me back any way they could, taking me through the ringer, crucifying me. But anyhow, they instructed me to sit down in front of a computer and put my information in. And I sat down, and I started typing. And she looked at me, and she said, "I thought you didn't know anything about the computer." And I said, "Well, I never said I was a moron. I have 4 years of secretarial training. I know how to type. That's not the part I don't get." Oh, was she pissed. And then her granddaughter proceeded to tease me about my crooked teeth. Oh yeah, and I had to explain to that little baby about the world and about real things. And yeah, Aunt Susan's mouth is a medical experiment. They did some rotten things to my mouth and my face. How about that, kid? Your mom's one of them. Or your grandma. Whoever she is. Shill, pain in my ass. Well, anyhow. And that was a year before the adventure began. Okay. The other day, I started the discussion with a company called Single Platform. And Single Platform creates menus for businesses and for people that don't know how to use the computer. I think I was charged $79 a month, maybe $69. They set up all of your accounts, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all of those search for you. You know, it's like an electronic phone book, which the last thing I want is a bunch of phone calls coming in from people that are just shuffling. I mean, these aren't serious inquiries. That's what a professional consultation is for. Don't play how do I fix my hair color on the phone. I mean, it's a game for low-level people. I'm a nationally accredited board-certified hair colorist. That's not my bag. And all my business was word of mouth. which is why I never paid for advertising. But oh, in this world, just like I found out in Ferguson, I mean, I needed to pay to get in this town, even though I was clean. I needed to hire Chuck James, the attorney, the same one that moved Sherry from a Lanero property to a freestanding building so she could get TIF money. Right. And then I'm stuck living in a slumlords building, Mike Hurst, that everybody knows about. Been pimping since pimping down here. And these people are living in dire situations under slumlords. Perfect reflection of this planet, if you ask me. Alright, so now I'm going to give single platform my information. And the other night, on my video, I did show you guys that information. It's also on my Facebook page. These are original things that I created back in 2005 to do wellness seminars with, which shows my dedication to right livelihood, like my buddy Gerald Salente talks about, and being a true holistic stylist that first does no harm. I'm a source of information and education, always was, which is why I needed to be shut up. So, I'm going to get interviewed by a single platform, and the gal's name is Irwin. I always thought that name was cute, and she was a redhead. I remember that. And I had a long conversation. You know, she asked me questions about my life. It was kind of like a little autobiography thing, and it was pretty intense. We talked a couple hours. Now, I never ever heard another thing back from Irwin, of course, and that's why on the paper I had wrote doubt versus belief. So, you know, like Funny Sonny, he says your story is not important. You need to roll over and shut up, is basically what he says. And, you know, especially when you step forward and you're going to do something on the computer, and this interview that's scheduled gets rescheduled. That's why I say doubt and belief, because, you know, I really had to wonder, what the hell am I doing here in computer land? And that was on August 4th. Now, the next day, we did have that interview that I just spoke to you about. And on August 7th, my buddy Carol, you know, Mr. Wrinkle's other mother, she came back to Ferguson. Now, what had happened was after the tornado in 2011, which did hit her home. I mean, it made her really, it really stressed her out, just like all of us. She had 3 dogs, a cat, and 2 birds. That's how we got Mr. Wrinkles and the shitheads that live upstairs. She had moved to Kansas because, you see, her daughter was going to take care of her. Well, Carol is way more competent than her Pisces daughter that's my age. So, a lot of people like to rag Pisces out, saying that we're all this way or we're all that way. Well, you couldn't see a bigger difference in 2 women than me and Carol's daughter, so you can imagine, even though we loved each other like family, that was the kiss of death. No different than when Chelsea's fiance said to me that he loved me as much as his own mom, and it was easier for him to tell me how much he loved me than her. I knew that was the kiss of death. Don't put me in the middle of anybody's family struggles. I mean, it's not where I want to be. I never even wanted to be in the middle of my own family struggles. They were so abusive, so depressing, so unempowering, that I got out of those situations. And I also chose to not carry them forward into my adult life. And And that's why I said early on, I take responsibility for my actions. Always have. Well, Carol came back. And of course, she needed a place to live. Because there was a bunch of jackasses renting over at her house, tearing it up, destroying the garden. And, hey, who did she live with? It wasn't her brother, Charlie. You know, the guy that kind of, he can't help himself. We're not going to talk about him. Anyhow, Carol lived at our house. And in the end, now Mr. Wrinkles isn't even welcomed in Carol's yard. Not because she stayed at our house, but because she got so much slack from her own family about us not being family. And why are we wanting her? What do we get out of it? How are we going to use this old woman? Yeah, that'll separate a friendship real quick. So, that was August 7th. And I put a heart by that day because I've always loved her. She reminds me of Sandy Durbin's mom, Annabelle. And she also reminds me of, oh man, Mrs. Barron's. From when I was growing up, the old blonde lady that after my mom burned me, and then I was allowed to go back outside months later, that she wasn't able to see me anymore, like, you know, she couldn't receive visitors. She had been taken ill, and she had a nurse that took care of her in the day. Mrs. Barron's was a widow. I never knew her husband. She bowled with my mom on the bowling league at Tower Bowling Alley, which is how I met Norman, the first little boy I loved. The little boy I named my dog after. And now I listen to Chris Norman and know who he is. So there's always blessings in this, you know, this confirmation of spirit phenomenon progress I talk about. And when I think about the 4 years of phenomena that I've had online, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I do think that it has borne much fruit. I think most, a bunch of worms, picked and stole and started trying to consume and shit it out like it was their own. Shouldn't do that. They will catch you. So, anyhow, the 8th. The 8th. Yeah. So, I had an orientation scheduled with Irwin, and it was by, I want to say by about 12:30 that day. The news had already been broke that Mike Brown had been gunned down by Officer Darren Wilson in cold blood. And they left him laying in the middle of the street for hours while the politicos did their dance. And this was premeditated and Soros funded, as the world knows now. So, when that broke out, I canceled my orientation. And I can remember talking to Irwin on the phone and saying, "You're never going to believe what just happened." And by that time, she had heard it. It had, you know, already made national news, no doubt. And of course, this is 5 minutes away from where I live and work. I actually lived right by that apartment complex when I was a young woman with my grandmother. So I've always known the area. And of course, where I signed my death warrant with the city of Ferguson in 2014 is when I made the video Love Letters to Ferguson. Now many say, well, nobody's ever seen that. Wrong again, guys. Sometimes, like when a video, let's say they say it's seen 1 million views, and at least 40% of those are bots and fake phony accounts, you get how the numbers change. Now, if one real, sincere person that has some authority or some power or some purpose or a mission sees that video, then everybody that person wants to see that video, oh, they'll see it. And to me, that's what's happened. So now that we're on the timeline to August 8th, we're going to close out at the U.S. National Archives, and I'm going to take you to that video. I'm sure you guys have never seen it, because surely nobody even knew that I was making videos on YouTube. And my friends, since they'd always teased me about being computer illiterate, they couldn't believe that I was actually doing that. So, of course, very, very, very many people were upset with me when I made this, and it wasn't because the content wasn't beautiful. It's because it was so stressful, and they just wanted to forget about it. Which, I get that, but what I know from my life experience is it's actually not human. I mean, if they can get you to forget and not think and process, then you're not even close to living a human life. So, you see how they do this to people. And we have to deal with the actions that take place from other people that we consider to be we. Because we have a collective where we're all humans, so we all go to the same place. Wrong! Everybody's a different kind of human. We're all unique. Alright. Did you hit go? So, I'm on the Mike Brown search here on Google. I typed in Love Letters to Ferguson, Mike Brown, and I didn't even finish with Mike Brown and me. Mine's Mike Brown and me. See, there it is. Love Letters to Ferguson, Mike Brown and me. Made this video 3 years ago. Of course, there's some documentaries, a lot of media coverage depicting both polarizing sides that would turn people to war. And this morning, it was 4 in the morning, when I woke up and there the news was on, and I did live stream that little tidbit that was put up concerning Mike Brown. They gave it about a minute and a half. And what I still say for the official record is this: with what we know about how easy it is to manipulate images, immediately, when that kid was still laying in the street bleeding out, they were saying, oh, hey, this Quickie Mart over here, they've got the footage on the security cam of him coming in and being all fucking ghetto fabulous and trying to steal a blunt or whatever he did. But that image was so grainy, and I said even on that very day, I do not believe that is him. And at the time, I didn't even know about all this behind the scenes with Mr. Computer Head. I just got turned on to that about 15 months ago. I mean, to see it up close and personal, and this is how we do it, Suze. So I still stand on that original statement that the video footage from the Quickie Mart was not Mike Brown. Remember, all black people look alike. Oh, that's what prejudiced people say, right, little Canedra? No, baby. No. This didn't look like him. That's what I said. But everybody else said it did because it was a black kid. So, I'll still turn you over my knee. And don't think you're going to go get your phony friends to get me behind the scenes, because we're checking you out today, too. I will not tolerate prejudice. And never in my entire life has anyone had the audacity to even call me prejudice. Because I'm not. And then you want to make up lies. And you wonder why people are dying in the streets. Alright. Here's my video. Love letters to Ferguson, Mike Brown, and me. Enjoy. And we will skip over that because you can see that for yourself on YouTube already. It's called Love Letters to Ferguson, Mike Brown, and me. And what you see me doing here is going over the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, which is how I've survived my life in dealing with all the situations that I've been involved in. And at that time, I didn't even know that was the Hegelian dialect. So everybody got a great laugh out of that because I seem to know things that I'm not supposed to know since I didn't go to college or I wasn't trained under a guru or a master. But we're supposed to be self-educated. And they keep saying to know yourself. And then you show people how you do know yourself. And that agitates people because they don't know themselves. And I'm sorry that that has shattered people's realities. Although I always knew that I had a tendency to do that. Okay, we're almost done with it. And that was written by Edward Everett Hale. He was a mid-20th century chaplain in the United States Senate. So, tune into my channel, Pratt, on YouTube for more of my love letters to Ferguson, because there's going to be a whole bunch. And I thank you for your support and your time and your heart brain. I like to say namaste. And with that, peace, love, and light from the big yellow house on the 3rd Cosmic Ray, St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you. Alright. So there's the Mike Brown video. Now, let me just open up my little book here and get myself back up. And either way I go, it's a bad camera shot. Alright. No big deal. Now, what we're talking about here is this Hegelian dialect. And, you know, I really, like I said, this is the way that I had to rationalize everything that I experienced in my life. So when I did one of my first shows, my buddy Mr. Vic had to let me know that I was working with the Hegelian dialect, and I really honestly didn't have a clue. But I want to add another piece of paper that I did during the time, and I'll go ahead and bring it up here. Okay. The other night we talked about the IKEA, which is that which you love that which you're good at. Come on. That which the world needs, and that which you can be paid for, and see you have your passion, your mission, your profession, and your vocation. Alright. Here's what we're adding. Let's see if that all worked. Okay. There. Good enough. Okay. So in this one, we're talking about how other thoughts, how others, that means other people, affect our alchemy. And so in this one, my thesis is foreknowledge of events, friends came to like and welcome, reveal of the personal akasha, and confirmation of spirit. We're jumping ahead a little bit because this is what I experienced on September 1st, 2014, on this phenomena that I keep striving to share with humanity. Okay, now the antithesis of this is that the phenomena is a delusion. And of course I have no reputation online, and I should just stick to hair. Who cares? It's not important. And of course the million-dollar question is, what do I get out of it? Now, to me, the synthesis is the right livelihood, and we have 9 viable points: creation and reality in the present now. Of course, we have acceptance of imperfections, which to me is my voice. And only 3 out of 9 involve vocations. So what I'm talking about is my mission. And 3 of the 9 strong, unique points that I bring with my service relates directly to hair. And that's why, to me, I was fully confident to come out and speak on every subject that I've spoken about that has nothing to do with hair. People don't usually expect that out of hairdressers. They just, it's kind of like women. Just do your thing, woman. Sit down, stay out of trouble. And that's really not something women are very good at, because you have to remember, it's always the woman's fault. And I'm not making fun. I'm really not. And of course, the men are dealing with their issues too, and I think it's brave. I love my friends. Okay. So, there's the 8th of August. And now, of all things, and oh, this sucks, August 9th, in the year 1987, was the day my dumbass walked down the aisle, a pregnant, scared, unworthy bride. Wanted to make the best of it. I mean, really. And I'm not the kind of bitch to go back and abort a child. We found that out up close and personal. And that's how I lived the next 19 years of my life, raising those kids. And then I blew Dodge. But, the thing I do want to say about the divorce, and because I'm so tired of listening to Funny Sonny's astrology, it makes me want to puke. But my ex was a Taurus. Now, Taurus live and learn and love like toddlers, like young children. And there's no shame in that. Just like my dad was an Aries. He learned how to live and love like a baby. Unconditional love. Loved his mother. A little innocent, very fearful of the world. very fearful of strangers, thus he became a good cop. But Taurus, like my ex, you can really make them happy by just giving them the basics, which is food and love and a comfortable home and physical companionship. That's why I say, well, you've heard me say feed me, fuck me, but I probably shouldn't have just said that, so I can't help myself. In the meantime, Taurus wants all your money. Or if they're the one making the money, they'll be the ones saving it and tucking it away and not giving you a dime when your kids need to eat, in my experience. Most important thing to my ex-husband was the dirty money. And that's why as a Pisces, even if I'm broke, like today I gotta go pay my charge payment, I might be $10 short. So what do? Take a bunch of change? Yep. Lauren would never take change. She was too good for it. She had to have the green money and the bling. Which is why she does what she does. However she does it. And I don't know because I'm not involved. But you get what I'm saying. Everybody. And in the meantime, here sits someone with an established 30-year business that's not allowed to serve the community because that's not in the lineup in their ninth inning closeout. And I'm a pitcher. So, I don't go out that easy. And I throw a good, straight, honest pitch. So, hit that fucking ball. Now, believe it or not, this man told me that I would never be able to take my children and he wouldn't pay me a dime of child support. I mean, I wouldn't even expect alimony, or a part of the pension because he works at UPS. Nothing like that. Nothing like most bitches do when they divorce their man. I just wanted out. I wanted to take my kids. I wanted to not be abused mentally. I mean, he never abused me physically, come on. But the point is that to get out of this life with this man, I even accepted less than the state required amount of child support because all he cared about was the fucking money. And in the end, I always thought the hair emporium would be there for me because it is me. I mean, the four walls weren't me, right? You get the point. And that's like you're more than your physical body. Think about your physical body as the four walls of a business. And you want to do right livelihood business. But the walls tell you you can't. And they're caving in on you. Well, obviously, you have a safety. Some kind of a firewall or something. And they're saying that the people that don't acknowledge this and deal with their own drywall, plastic bullshit, that's going to be their permanent face or their permanent building. And I just think everybody needs to be aware because it's not about the money. I mean, I know it is for us all to stay alive. It's about the energetic currency that they've taken from all of us. It's about the medical experimentation and the poisoning. It's about the takedown of every natural system that we ever had. And then, of course, you get people so weak and dopadelic that if you do need to reset and set and work and actually function like you did 20 years ago, most people can't do it. They've forgotten. It's really sad. And the kids, my God. I mean, yesterday, well, it doesn't even matter. I'm not telling stories on again. Not today. You know, your kids ask you a question, you give them the best answer, and it's real hard, because it goes against the video game that they all play. It also goes against the parent that's done the alienation. So, Tim Pratt stands guilty of parental alienation. He's been caught dozens of times in legal documents doing exactly what the court said not to do. And I have all the paperwork, but here again, nobody cares. And it's been 6 years since I've seen my grandkids. And my children have been really hurt from what the system's done. Not the little piss-ass things like me actually standing up for myself or leaving a marriage where one was parasitic on the other, because we did not have an equal exchange of love. I always gave more. And hey, it's my pleasure. It's all I know how to do. But today is my Emancipation Day. And like I said, there's a lot that happened in my world in that first week of August. So, we covered the marriage, we covered the divorce, we covered the emancipation, we covered the interview. And supposedly, this weekend is supposed to be a BFD. And I always believe every day is a BFD. So, this weekend, of course, we have a new moon in Leo. Now, new moons are times of simultaneous endings and beginnings, which means if you want to begin an important project, you want to do that on a new moon. Also, if you're done with behaviors, people, or situations, you're supposed to release them, cut the cord, do whatever dance it is you do. But you need to full well be aware that just like language and spellcasting, these cutting of cords are permanent, and I've always known that. So when you go to cut a cord, if you're not in the most loving stance that you can bring to the table, you must realize that you're cutting off the nourishment from that being, that parasite, that organism, that life form. And so when I did that with Dobie the turnip, I full well knew that say he wasn't like a good strong oak, like a Taurus man should be, because he had secrets. And he always, this is weird to be married for somebody, married to somebody for 19 years that their last name means trickster, that says that he always had a secret, and he knew when he told me that that would be the end of our marriage. Now, I didn't leave him because he told me the secret and I got grossed out and left. I had already chose to leave. And so he was telling me that in a last attempt to say, won't you stay with me until the kids are grown? Hell no. No, I won't. And that was, I left out of that house permanently in 2007, August to be exact. And believe it or not, I paid rent in my own home so I didn't share a marital bed. Talk about being a whore either way, right? First they tell you that you're one because you know you love somebody, and then they tell you you're one because you ain't loving them. Well, I paid to live in that house and not have to do that dirty deal. It wasn't dirt cheap. But, c'est la vie, in case sera, sera, right? So, let that be entered in today. I took care of it. And now I got to go pay that charge that I may or may not have enough money to do. I hope that I do. Seems like God always gives me that exact amount. And then I walk out maybe with a couple dollars in each account. So I'm going to fill up my purse full of change and go do my job. Oh, and then it's all about cleaning the house and doing the hair and taking the dogs out. I probably should get footage of that yard next door, right? On Monday it'll be 2 weeks since the city came and did that half-ass mowing job and took pictures of the debris that we admittedly put in their yard because it's their debris. And it's a mess. But nobody cares. Because Ferguson, you ought to just put a wall around it, like that Mike Brown video said. And that comes from a guy with the last name of Ferguson that moved out to O'Fallon 20, 30 years ago. His kin was the health commissioner of Ferguson and had ties with McDonnell Douglas, come to find out. No different than Knowles. His grandpa was mayor a long time ago. And maybe he was a good mayor. Mayor Knowles got put in a bad situation, and he's not much different than me. He went in there like an Aries, young and proud. And I mean, he had big hopes for politics way beyond piss-ass Ferguson. And then all the hubbub happened, and that same man that witnessed to me about Sherry from Ferguson's Stylist Spa and the sexual favors she did to get the TIF money can't even offer me a hand after I'm evicted unlawfully from 18 Church in 2015. That's what happens to somebody when they get beat down in politics. So, for now, peace, love, and light from the third cosmic ray in Sue's world. And I'll be back. We got a lot to talk about. Bye.